The first horse and rider to go, number 2003, Emily Clayton, rides the horse Absolute Drama, and I'm fascinated that there's a hunter horse with the name Absolute Drama. Absolute Drama, young 4-year-old, bred in Louisiana, based with Emily out of Lafayette, Louisiana, a horse that ran in Louisiana at Delta Downs and Evangeline Downs. 4 starts coming off the track July 8th of 2020.
Absolute Drama is by a sire named Big Drama out of a mare named Perfect Charm. So Absolute Drama is a really good name given the pedigree, but not typical of a hunter.
How funny would it be if Big Drama becomes a great sport horse sire? This is one of those horses that we appreciate. You know, the 4 starts, and best finish was the 5th place finish, and a quick racing career, but hopefully a very long career when it comes to whether they're competing in the hunters or they did show jumpers this week as well at the Thoroughbred Makeover.
This little mare is showing really nice form for hunters in a green horse show. It's got a really nice rhythm. Even in the corner, it's got its changes, which is something that every hunter rider asks if you're looking for a horse. Do they have their changes? And at the show, you're not penalized by doing simple changes, but got into that corner, had a nice change, really rhythmic and steady, and nice to see.
In the nicest possible way, a drama-free round for Absolute Drama and Emily Clayton, just what you want to see in the show hunter ring. So next, we'll welcome number 2101, Grand Blue Harbor, ridden by Rachel McMahon from Palmyra, Virginia. And this is a horse that's for sale in the class of 2021 as part of the ASPCA Makeover Marketplace. Grateful to having the partnership between the RRP and ASPCA. And we heard from Christy from ASPCA yesterday, and hopefully she'll come by our booth a little bit later today as well. This is a horse that's competing in show hunters and competitive trail. A 7-year-old bay mare who had 34 starts, 1 win, and 15 top 3 finishes on the track before retiring at Charlestown in September 2020.
This mare didn't make her first start until she was 3 years old, and it took her 19 starts to finally win her first race, even though she had some pretty good races. She had some thirds, seconds, and had some pretty decent races after that, but then her form started to tail off a little later in her career last year. And they, as we talked about earlier, Ashley, it looks like they did not do the one last race thing, and they gave her a chance to go on and have another career. So it's nice to see her here performing in another discipline.
Definitely. The more this show goes on, and there's so many different aftercare programs, there's so much more education out there on the benefits of taking these horses off the track at the right time. We're big advocates of racing. We love racing. There is a value to it. I love the sport. And there's so much to be gained from that, but there's even more to be gained when the racing community and the aftercare, the sport horse disciplines all work together with the same goal of keeping these horses sound and healthy and happy and having a job for longer.
Well, let's face it, with racing, the only discipline that they're judged upon is how fast they can go. And horses can do other things than run really fast, and we see that here.
And we've said, even today, with the breeding, you can have every intention in the world to have a top racehorse, and it's just not in the cards for them. And it's great that can be addressed. And there's certain horses that come out and they're just made to be hunters, or they're made to be eventers, and it doesn't matter if that horse was purpose-bred for racing. Sometimes they were made for something else.
She certainly had a beautiful round, Ashley.
Rachel McMahon and Grand Blue Harbor. Next up, we'll have rider number 2228, Erica Hammond, who is aboard Russian Wine. Russian Wine, a 6-year-old gray gelding, bred in Florida and raced in Florida as well from 2018 until September 2020, retiring after 30 starts, half of which came on the dirt and half of which came on the turf. Erica balances riding with being a mom to a 1- and 3-year-old and wants to thank her supportive husband who's been there since day one. She works the corporate life, has 2 kids, and also the passion for the horses as well, saying that Russian Wine has proven himself to be a horse of a lifetime.
And Erica's grandparents owned and raced thoroughbreds for decades. The breed became important to her because of the rich part of her family history, and so she keeps her eye out for a horse like this, just like Ashley does when she's at the track with you, Jonathan. I'm sure she's looking at those horses that her grandparents may have bred to see which one is her next show jumper
We
or
call
hunter.
it window shopping.
Yes.
Or just shopping. Who doesn't love a big, pretty gray? They're always so striking and just seem to stand out. You get a horse with a good brain on top of it and nice movement. This horse does have a cute jump, great knees, still learning how to tuck those feet up underneath him, but the knees are pretty snappy. You see, he's looking around this arena a little bit more than the others, but one thing that's really interesting is these greenies. So far, we've seen 3 of them, but they seem to be handling this environment actually better than the 2020 horses.
Yeah, they are really professional.
Russian Wine, ridden by Erica Hammond.
So to answer your question on who doesn't love the grays, I would say it's the groom who has to take care of them, and that's about it, because they can get pretty dirty.
There's a reason why I don't own any grays.
Next in the ring, number 2123, Akarius, ridden by Alexander Beckstadt from right here in Lexington. A horse that had just 1 career race back in February 2019 at Gulfstream Park in Florida. Did have some race workouts more recently as November of 2020, but Connections retiring the horse from racing and now competing here with Alexandra Beckstadt. Akarius is next to go for the Show Hunter finale sponsored by Beyond the Wire. There's such a range in horses that, in this case, Akarius had the 1 career start. Some horses that have been competing in the makeover this weekend were unraced, like the one that won the Thoroughbred Makeover Championship yesterday in Thunderous Affair. And then you have had horses that have run up to 100 times the war horses in this class of 2020 and 2021. The most starts this weekend came by the horse Bluegrass Demon, 107 starts before competing here. And actually, I remember a couple years ago, there was a horse that I think was made 150 starts that we did a story about for the Retired Racehorse Project.
It's just mind-blowing, just how much these horses can actually do and hold up for that. Imagine how many years that horse had been racing just to accumulate that much and to be able to hold up for that. And that I would have to say is a horse that really loved what he was doing, because horses are smart And horses know what's actually going on. They're not going to keep doing that if that's not what they're really into. And Jonathan and I always reference a horse named Chautauqua, who is an outstanding racehorse in Australia and won everything and until he didn't want to anymore. And then he would just sit in the gates when they would open and they could not get him out. And he just made the choice. He's like, I'm done. And they had to retire him because he just stopped coming out of the gates. He was sound and just decided he was done. So.
Chautauqua did that to prove my point that I always say we cannot make them run. If they don't want to run, we can't make them. It's not possible.
Yeah, so a horse to run 150 times has to love his job.
Exactly.
Cheers for Akarius and Alexandra Beckstadt. One more horse and rider to go in the show hunter discipline. Rider number 2275 is Heath Gunnison aboard This Is Me. And how about this for a double at the Thoroughbred Makeover, making the finales in show hunters, and then they'll be back later today competing in ranch work. I don't think we've ever seen a pair that can be in the hunter ring and working cows as well, and it'll be fascinating to see with This Is Me, who's just a young 4-year-old bay gelding, ridden by Heath Gunnison, who is from here in Lexington.
Heath Gunnison is also the Midway University Hunt Seat coach, which, as you know, is Midway is very near to the Kentucky Horse Park geographically, and he competed in the 2018 Thoroughbred Makeover.
I see just such light hands on him. It's very free, very moving. He's not restricting in any way, and the horse is just reaching out, really nice and relaxed, and he's just not getting in this horse's way at all.
Look at that beautiful tail on that horse. He's got the tail of almost like a Frisian stallion. Beautiful. Do you think they put extensions in there?
That's a good question. Yeah.
Plead the fifth on that.
I'll be interested to see then what the horse and rider come back to look like when they do ranch work. It'll be a transformation in image.
Yeah, I imagine they'll take that braid out.
I think the braids will be out, but you can see in the way that they're going, the hunter's got that long and low. I can easily imagine a Western saddle on and a nice loopy rein with a Western bit in and the horse moving just like that, and you probably wouldn't think about it. You see both, it looked like his eye dropped down to those flowers, and both eyes, horses and riders, just kind of stopped there. I think if there was just a little bit more lifting up, it might have helped him get over that. Just at the last stride or two, just started getting a little bit slower.
Just to take his eye off of what he had focused on, or just to lift his body?
Just so he got a little slow. We'll see how. Even though his handling looks very calm, this might be an overwhelming environment for him.
So, Ashley, this horse is ridden by a hunt seat coach, and so he obviously has had plenty of experience and knows this horse really well. I'm sure you've had this sort of thing happen to you, too. Like, horses just never cease to come with surprises, do they?
You're really not allowed to have an ego with horses. But what I really like to see is, even though he is nervous, right, and he stops and doesn't want to do it, that second time he came up, he stopped and let him sniff and gave him a pat. And even there, look, he's going to walk out on a loose rein, give him a pat, and that's what you want to see. That's really good horsemanship.
He was about to retire on course when the judges informed him that he had one more opportunity to get this jump. And he gets it.
If you couldn't hear in the background, there were a lot of people clicking to the horse, so this was a team effort to try and get that horse over. I think that's a good thing, you know. That's a great place to end on.
Absolutely love that.
You know what? Yeah.
At that point, it's the finales. There's really nothing more for him to gain by pushing and seeing the horse refuse again. So get the horse over the jump and then reward him for that and have that horse walk out like, I did it. I'm feeling pretty good about myself. Whereas if you pushed a little more, you might lose a little confidence, and long term is not going to help the horse.
So Heath Gunnison aboard This Is Me. They'll be back later for ranch work, and we were saying on the live broadcast sponsored by Maryland Jockey Club, really appreciate for a young horse how Heath chose to handle that round. And now we're ready for the awards ceremony for show hunters presented by Beyond the Wire. We have a special award to announce first that will recognize the top Pennsylvania bred. It's sponsored by the Pennsylvania Horse Breeders Association, a $2,500 cash prize awarded to the highest placed Pennsylvania bred in the competition. And this year's top Pennsylvania bred from the show jumper discipline was Aiken Prep, number 2005, ridden by Emma Eyre. In the show hunter discipline, the Thoroughbred Charities of America Award was awarded to Don Quixote and Heather Mason. The Best Conditioned Award in the division, sponsored by Nina Bonney, goes to Avail Akadi, ridden by Emily Castrenzi. The top team was the Chester Croft team that rode Stolen Love. The top junior was for Out of Bullets, ridden by Chandler Nance. And we'll have the top amateur as part of the top 5 in the division, as we'll now pin the ribbons 1st through 10th in Show Hunter, sponsored by Beyond the Wire. Finishing in 10th place, number 2067, discreetly placed, ridden by Carolyn Sanders. In 9th place, number 2097, Good Timing Man, with Christina Ellison. Eighth place, number 2271, The Name's Billy, ridden by Katie Hanlon. Seventh place was the top team, Stolen Love, with the Chester Croft team, number 2262. Sixth place went to number 2299, Victor's Show, and Marina Yarbrough. Now to the top 5 that all had their finale rounds today. Fifth place, number 2275, This Is Me, and Heath Gunnison. Fourth place, number 2101, Grand Blue Harbor, ridden by Rachel McMahon. Third place, number 2003, Absolute Drama, and Emily Clayton. Second place, number 2228, Russian Wine, and Erica Hammond. And the winners for Show Hunter, sponsored by Beyond the Wire, with a strong finale and a final score of 263.00. Congratulations. Also is the top finishing amateur, number 2123, Akarius, ridden by Alexandra Beckstedt. And now that we have the top 10 in the arena, Alexandra Beckstedt and Akarius, you're welcome to lead the top finishers around the TCA covered arena in a victory lap. This horse, Akarius, the 2016 bay gelding with one start back in 2019 in Florida, and competing and winning here in show hunters with local rider Alexandra Beckstedt from Lexington.